Hello, I'm Copycat Carl. I like to call myself an indie app developer, but really I just sit in the shadows on Twitter looking at other people's success, and when they have any remotely successful app or idea, I copy it with no soul and no intention of making a good product. All I'm interested in is copying a product to generate a quick buck. Actually, it's just me. That was my impersonation of Copycat Carl. Copycat Carl is the guy who lurks in the shadows and just steals ideas. He doesn't have an original idea of his own, so he's just there to steal your idea. And it's annoying. Once again, in this past week, I have seen another copycat of one of my apps. I'm starting to lose count how many copycats there are, how many clones of apps get created. Once I share any sort of remote amounts of success on Twitter or on social media or on YouTube, all of a sudden everyone starts jumping on the power wagon. The copying people, the copycat Carls, start to jump on their bandwagon and release their own version of the app. And it can be really, really confronting when you see like a rip-off version of your app in the App Store, especially when it ranks on the same keywords that you're targeting. This particular app was ranking just below my app, and I clicked it. The interface looks like a cheap knockoff rip-off version of my app. Core functionality is kind of there, a bit slow, a bit buggy, a bit not quite right. Looks like it's been sort of rushed through the door. But straight away, I start to think like, this is my revenue. This is how I put food on the table. This app, Copycat app, can take food off my table and take food away from my kids. And fight or flight sets in. Flight happens. It's like, I better sell this app before all the rip-offs come along and start reducing my revenue, reducing my income, and my app is worth nothing. I should sell it while I've still got revenue to show that it's actually worth something, right? And then fight comes in, and this is the part that motivates me and really, it gets me really, really going. Like I sit down and like, this Copycat app is crap. Copycat Carl, you made a bad app.
Well, what do you expect? Like, I just spent a week on it, and I just copied the superficial things that you've created. I didn't create the backend because I don't know how the backend works. I just copied what you did.
So the fight comes in, and straight away I'm like, it gives me the motivation to make my app better. It gives me the motivation to strive to go, I don't want to go back to being a freelance developer. I don't want to go back to having to sell my apps. If I do have to sell my app, I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't want to. I like generating revenue from my apps, and I like the lifestyle that I've carved out for myself, where I can make these things. I can take time off with the kids. I can work on the projects I want to work on. I don't want to get stuck back in that stage where all of my hard work, I don't know, is going to generate any revenue. And all of these thoughts are just come down on me like a ton of bricks. I don't know if that's a saying you have everywhere else in the world, but we have a saying here. There's risks involved. There's risks. I know there's risks. I develop an app and I can release it in stealth mode online. I don't get to share my passion and I don't get to share my learnings, and my partner is the one that has to listen to me telling her about monthly recurring revenue charts and the latest technology stack that I'm focusing on, or the latest advances in AI. She doesn't want to hear about all that. I'd rather jump onto social media and talk about it. But every time I talk about my app, send a screenshot or say, this is how well my app is going, I will get a copycat.
Oh, I like the look of that app. I might steal it.
And I've just come to learn that is part of the risk. That's the risk of building, not only building in public, but also building in stealth. If you build in public, yeah, okay, people are going to, it heightens the likelihood that someone's going to copy the app because more people are seeing it, and I can't just hide under that the niche or the keywords that no one's looking at. Every step I make, people can see my whole portfolio and they can step along the way. Please don't be a copycat Carl. So my first experience with a copycat was early on in my Twitter building public career. I built a tarot app. We bought something off Etsy. It was just actually like a pendant, like a necklace. And in the necklace came a little tiny miniature box of tarot cards. I don't know if they've thrown it in there on purpose or by accident. I don't know. And I've never owned a pack of tarot cards before. Like the whole spiritual side. I do like to get stuck into all of this, and I do like to learn as much as I can. And I thought, I'm going to jump onto the App Store. I'm going to learn about tarot. Sure enough, there was no apps targeting the keyword learn tarot. And straight away I'm like, I'm going to animate like a logo, like a light bulb. Ding! So a light bulb went off. I got ChatGPT, not even ChatGPT, it was GPT 2.0. This is before ChatGPT even existed. I got it to generate the description of every single card in the tarot deck. And then I put it into an app and I released it. And it had the artwork, put the artwork in there, and a bit of an encyclopedia, like a tutorial on how readings work and what each card meant. And then when I'm playing with the deck of cards, I can just quickly look up, what is this card and what does it mean? I built it in public, and this is the first time someone built it in parallel to me building my app. By the time I released it, there was a copycat, and the copycat was targeting the exact same keywords, had the exact same content, the exact same layout of the app. Everything was the same, and I didn't like it. I got upset. I was like, this is my hard work. I put my time and energy into building this. I've come up with the idea. I've done the keyword research. I've done the user interface. I've done all of the hard work to come up with the idea and package it and make it a product. Someone else can come along and piggyback off that hard work that I've done and just run with it from the time that I released it. So I put a Twitter post out there and I was like, someone's copied my app. And what happened next took me back. I got a personal message from the builder and he said, look, I'm really sorry for copying your app. I look up to you and I admire what you do, and I wanted to sort of follow in your footsteps, and I wanted to do a bit of an experiment. Could you please ask people to stop harassing me? And I realized in that moment straight away that I had a platform, I had a following. People were invested in my journey and my story. Someone was in the shadows. Yeah, they copied me. But I put the spotlight on someone and they got hate. They got people not happy with him. And that didn't feel good. I'm not in this game to make enemies. I didn't like that I had caused pain to someone. So the valuable lesson that I learned in that scenario was, don't shed light on copycats. Don't shed light. Don't post about it and say, look, this person's copying my app. Look, this person's copying my idea. Because the second that you do that, you're validating the copycat. You're sending them free traffic and also getting bad energy out there. You're being adversarial. I don't want to be adversarial. I want to work with others. Don't copy my apps. Come up with something new. That would be fantastic. But I'm not going to put you on loudspeaker, is what I'm saying. Basically, my whole business model is just finding keywords, building apps based on keywords. There's no real brand recognition. There's no real product, like packaged up as a product. It's just, in that case, it was just Learn Tarot. That was the app. Someone else can come along and build a Learn Tarot app. All the best to them. But there's no brand recognition, which basically means that if anyone comes along and knocks me off the rankings, that's the end of that product. Which leads me to think, like, what are the practical steps for overcoming a copycat? I mean, sure, you can ignore it, but also it might be worthwhile sort of checking in to see how they tackled some of the problems. I've been going down the process. I want to implement some new paywalls. So I want to have the confidence to increase the annual price. Currently on one of my apps, the app that was copied recently, annual price is $14.99 per year. I want to increase that. I want to increase it to like $30 per year. And I also want to remove the free trial and introduce a weekly subscription with the free trial. I'm too scared to actually do that with my app because it's generating revenue. I don't want to increase the price and hurt customers But the Copycat app has basically taken those first steps that I've already been thinking about in terms of a different paywall that has two pricing tiers, an annual and a weekly. And this seems to be like a trend that's happening a lot on apps, the weekly price point. So it is becoming a bit more acceptable. I know when I started developing apps, like people didn't want weekly subscriptions, but now maybe they do, because maybe people are starting to work out, I'm just hypothesizing here, maybe people are starting to work out that I only need the app for the free trial or for a week or two. I don't need it indefinitely. And then even if I do need it indefinitely, I can switch over to the annual subscription, which is cheaper, but I'll just run with the weekly for now. So a way to sort of get around copycats is to start building apps that have their own brand, something I'm not doing, but also instead of focusing on annual subscriptions, focusing a lot more on weekly subscriptions. That means if I do get knocked off, thing happens I don't want to happen, I get knocked off the search engine results. Instead of my revenue drying up tomorrow and then the renewals coming a year later, at least I'll have a drop off, a weekly subscription where you have some churn happening every week, but at least I can plan for the next stage or the next step. It won't just be you've lost your ranking and you've dropped and that's it. And I have been questioning the ethics of copying. So here I am saying, like, there's an app that I've built, someone's copied it, but they've got a paywall on there that I'm going to take inspiration from. So where's the boundary between using an app as inspiration and just outright copying an app? All the ideas are recycled at the end of the day. So I started to wonder, what is inspiration? What can I use to look at an app and go, I like that idea, I'm going to use it in my app? And what is just outright copying? I like that app, I'm going to take it. And it reminds me of my own journey copying an app. And this is I feel a little bit ashamed about this one, to be honest, but one of the keywords in my early days of building in public, I was building a portfolio of apps and I was just focusing on keywords. So instead of being inspired by an app that I wanted to use, I was like, hey, that keyword, I could rank for that. Let's build it. And for this particular app, it was a percentage calculator. So the keyword was percentage calculator. And basically what I did is I looked at the top competing app when you type in percentage calculator. I'd like to say I used the calculations as inspiration, but I didn't. I outright just copied the formulas and I copied the calculations. I made my own interface that was a bit more similar to like the calculator app native to iOS. But in large part, I definitely crossed that line somewhere where it was no longer inspiration and I was just outright copying the formulas that this developer had done. I released the app publicly on Twitter and straight away got a DM from the author of this app saying, hey, I noticed the formulas are pretty similar to my app. Care to explain? Straight away, I thought, no, I'm not comfortable with this. I have put a face to the person that I'd copied, the app that I'd copied. It was another fellow indie developer. I don't want to make enemies, and I made these steps to essentially make an enemy. In that moment, I had to question myself and think, what type of developer, indie app developer do I want to be? Am I in this just to make a quick buck? Am I in this to make products that I'm passionate about? Am I in this to contribute to the App Store and to the indie development space? And in that moment, I realized, no, I'm going to take ownership of this. I've crossed the line here. This is not the type of apps I want to build. This is not the type of direction that I want to take things in. I outright apologized to the builder and I put a public post on Twitter to say, hey, actually, I've copied this. I use it as inspiration, but I shouldn't have done that. Part of that comes from my own journey with having a copycat copy my tarot app. And I thought to myself, I didn't like the copycat copying my tarot app. And I called out the copycat. If I'm sitting here and I copy someone's formulas on their app, then I can no longer call out copycats and I can no longer stand on any sort of integrity. That was a deciding factor in my indie app development journey, that I don't want to step on toes. I mean, if I'm making an app that's similar to a competing indie app developer, I'll try to go a different direction. There's been times we've been building an app and someone else has built the same app and I've sort of just pivoted. So I did this with the percentage calculator. I ended up just focusing on the business percentage calculations. So profit, loss, those types of things. And to offset copycats, I'm going to continue to build towards my indie app portfolio, but I'm going to be working towards a bigger project. I'm going to throw my weight and my time behind a bigger project. I've already registered the domain name. I've already got the idea in mind. And it's going to be one of those projects, instead of spending a week or two on development to see if there's a minimal viable product there, see if there's product market fit. This product is something that I know that I need, and that I know there's no real competing app out there at the moment. So I'm going to keep it under wraps for now to avoid copycats copying it. But I'm going to have an announcement in a few months' time with this big app that I'm working on. And I guess that comes down to minimizing risk and diversifying and branding. So this app that I'm building is not based on keywords and focusing on a keyword. This app that I'm building has a problem, and I've realized I can build a solution for. Share with me any experiences you've had with copycats. Tell me if you've had a Copycat Carl copy your app, and what impact it had on your app and your downloads and your revenue. And as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've also, these videos are also released as a podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
I'll be watching.